Before we get started, enjoy some commercials from our live stream sponsors. Are you running a domain business? Did you know that we offer premium memberships at acorndomains.co.uk and dnforum.com? One membership for both forums. dnforum.com is the oldest active domain name forum in the world, with over 536,000 members and established in 2001. acorndomains.co.uk is the main online community for the UK domain investors, with over 15,500 members and established in 2004. We offer different premium memberships to help you to reach your business goals, starting from an individual membership, which includes numerous perks, to a platinum membership. For more details, please visit either of the forums or simply leave a comment on this video and we will contact you. Thank you for considering our premium membership. We look towards helping you to reach your business goals.
Hello, Ed. Good evening.
Albert, how are you?
Good evening. Better. Now even better. Finally, well, apologies about mishaps. How's Australia?
Australia is great. We're in the middle of spring and heading into our warmer weather. So it was about 29 degrees Celsius in Perth.
And in the middle of spring.
Yeah. We get up to some of the hotter weather. We can get up to 40, 42, 43 degrees Celsius in the peak of summer.
That's
which
crazy.
Is very, very, very hot. But we're set up in Australia to deal with it. We've got air conditioning everywhere and people love going out in the sun. Too much. Too many people are out in the sun getting melanoma cancer. So you've got to be careful, but it's a beautiful place. Very sunny all the time.
And greetings from the UK. We are in the middle of autumn.
You are?
The rain starts visiting us quite often, times by times. Not as often as in the movies, but... And originally you are from Scotland, are you?
Correct. Yes, born in Scotland. So I was only a young baby when we came out here with my family, my three sisters and my mum and dad. And that was 1968, aging myself here. So we've been here. Well, I've been here my whole life, basically, but been back to the UK many times and love the place. Just the weather's too cold for me. Basically, the spring in England is probably about as bad as our winter gets.
Okay.
That's what we're sort of used to in Australia. So we're very spoilt for having beautiful weather most of the time. We do have bad weather sometimes, of course, but love the UK.
And I did tell you that once we had a call about something else, and when I saw you on video, I recognized you immediately, although I didn't know where from. And I was thinking, was it really from Domain Sherpa?
I've been on Domain Sherpa, been interviewed on Domain Sherpa a couple of times, I think, over the years, and also been running my own podcast for 17 years. Probably, I think I started the second podcast on domain investing in around 2007. There was one before that Monty Khan was doing.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there was any others at the time.
Something on FM, something like that.
Yeah, FM something. It was like a streaming radio station back then. Podcasting was a lot harder to do. There wasn't anywhere near the platforms and systems and ease of getting one up and running. So you had to sort of jump through a lot of hoops to try and get it to work properly. But I decided back then, because I'd been involved with domains for quite a few years before doing the podcast, but I wanted to just up my education on all the top people. So I thought, what's the best way to do this is to just interview people and ask them all the questions that I'd like to ask, and then everyone else gets the benefit of, well, back then it was only listening to it. It didn't have video. I didn't start doing video till probably 4 or 5 years ago. But so then I had some really good connections like Ron Jackson from DN Journal. Hey, Ron, if you're watching, Ron, shout out to Ron. Ron is a legend in this industry, and he's been running DN Forum now for DN Journal. Getting confused with yours. He's been running DN Journal for 20 years now, I think it is. So Ron was very kind in connecting me with quite a few people early on, like the Costello brothers. When David and Michael came on the podcast, I think they were episode number 7 or something, and that was the first time they'd ever been on a podcast together. So that was a first, and that's still available on our website at assets.com.au if people want to go and listen to that. It's a timeless episode, and a lot of the things they've talked about and predicted back then have happened. And then numerous other people, Rick Schwartz and Frank Schilling and Mike Mann and Andrew Miller's been on, and a whole host of people over the years.
And who was your first guest?
I can't remember. Actually, I think it might have been, and I'm trying to think, was an Australian domain investor, and I can't. Ben, I'm sorry, because you know who you are, because you're Ben, and I can't remember his surname.
Just shout out to Ben.
Yeah, shout out to Ben. Ben, I'm sorry, mate. Just mental blank on Ben's surname. Anyway, Ben Silks might be that.
Is it just me, or and I also told you, but is it just me who just feels that the Australian English, is the friendliest out of all? It is such a non-aggressive and friendly and body-like and embracing.
Yeah, I've never thought of it in that way, not because it isn't, but I think we're a pretty easygoing country. The majority of people who are who sound like me, I mean, I'm sort of a fairly typical Aussie bloke. Of course, we're very multicultural in Australia. So not everyone sounds like this. You've got people who sound like you. You've got people who sound like, that they have Indian heritage or Italian. Yes. So we're very, very, very diverse with our culture and languages. So, but in terms of someone that would maybe stereotypically think of someone that sounds Australian, then I'm probably a good example, even though technically I'm not Australian. I have an Australian passport and I have an Australian citizenship and all that sort of stuff, but I wasn't born in Australia. But thank you for the compliment. Sometimes people struggle to understand what we say, but I suppose I'm used to talking on podcasts for years, so I try not to talk too quickly. So hopefully everyone can understand.
I've always loved Australian accent. From the first time when I saw Crocodile Dundee in cinema, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Is that and
g'day, mate.
Mermaid movies and
yeah, good on you. Good on you, son.
Australian English is.
Well, look, we can teach you. You hang around with me long enough, and before you know it, you'll be picking up the Australian accent, and people will get you confused. You'll be able to come down here and blend in.
Thank you, Ed. How big is Australia, and how so population-wise, and compared to the population, how many professional domainers are there, more or less?
That's a good question. Well, the population of Australia is about 26.5 million people as we speak at the time of this recording. How many professional domain investors there are, I don't know, but I would have to say it would probably be under 100. Yeah, and that's probably stretching it. But then probably 10 of those do 80% of the business. So there's it's not a big market, but there's a lot of Australian domain investors who invest obviously global. So anything that's a .com or .net or any other extension, we're not limited. So, but in terms of our market, there's probably about 100 or so that would invest in probably the .com.au space, which is our CC/TLD, country code top level domain. But I really don't know. I'm not sure of the exact statistics. I'm just sort of shooting from the hip on that one.
And would you consider yourself among the top 10?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think anyone that sort of says they are is probably stretching the truth a little bit, because no one really knows what everyone else is doing. I'm probably one of the more prominent domain investors because we run a brokerage, we do podcasts, we're very popular on LinkedIn. So I'm probably better known than most. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm better or bigger than anyone else. I know a lot of domain investors in Australia who do very well, who do big business, and they fly under the radar. They're not public with what they do. They're not in the same space as me. They're not putting themselves out there as a person that is in the domain investing space. So they're quite happy to not be known, and then it probably makes their job easier when they come to buy a domain. So you don't have anything to deal with in terms of, oh, that guy's a domain investor, I'll triple the price on what I'm asking for that domain. So pros and cons to being known, I suppose.
And so the main online community is DN Trade. Yes, is it?
That is probably the best known forum in Australia. I don't really spend any time on it. I haven't probably been on it for, I would say, 10 years. I don't have anything against it. I haven't been on it. But I'm a member, and people know me on there. A lot of people know me, but I don't interact on there very much. And
so if somebody tags you, if somebody tags you, would you receive a notification?
On
the forum?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't received anything from there for I don't know how long. And it could be arguable whether I should spend more time in there. Pros and cons, and no offense to DN Forum. I'm pretty sure I'm a member of DN Forum as well, but I haven't spent much time on there. I tend to use social media more in terms of who I connect with and groups I'm on. But I basically putting a lot of content out there, doing podcasts. If people want to reach out and talk to me, they'll just reach out directly and email me or text me, or I'm pretty easy to find.
And what is your main business? How would you explain your work week? Not a day, maybe a week.
Well, I have a couple of things that I've been doing over the last.
Coffee or tea? It is quite late for the coffee for you.
Oh, I'm a water drinker at night.
Water drinker at night. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I have any, unless I have a peppermint tea or something like that, but in my kitchen's way over there. But I'll get up and leave and make a cup. I'm fine with water, but I have a marketing agency, Online Impact, which is what I founded 20 years ago. So we do everything in the digital space of mainly advertising. So
that's online impact, onlineimpact.com.au or .au?
Or .com, onlineimpact.com, .com.au. Yeah. I'm pretty sure .com still works. I mean, look, all our clients are in, not all, majority. I'm checking now. I haven't actually looked to check to see if the .com still goes through to the .com.au site, but I'm pretty sure it does. I'm thinking, geez, I haven't looked at that for a while. I haven't been asked that question. Yes, it does. There you go. Wow.
Okay.
And the website is needing major updating. So please don't anyone send me messages saying they found mistakes, because I know there's mistakes. It's like a mechanic whose car blows smoke, or an electrician who has wires short-circuiting, or a plumber who has leaks. I spend more time doing other people's stuff than any of ours, which is not a good excuse, but it's just how it is. So I set that up 20 years ago. We were one of the first in Australia to manage Google Ads campaigns.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we, like the year it started, we were consulting on Google Ads. We had something like $50 million a year in ad campaign managed through our business. So that's probably the core thing up until recently. I spend less time on that now and more time in the domain space. So I've partnered with Robert Kaay from DBR.com.au, which everyone can see on the list here.
Yes.
So we would run on, I would say, the sort of biggest, probably better known brokerage in Australia. There's a few out there, but we have one that's very popular and well known. It's been around for 10 odd years, I think, when Rob started it. And we deal with a lot of the top sales and keep ourselves busy with acquisitions for clients. That's probably the main thing we do. We get people contacting us daily trying to sell their domains, and we are very picky. We'll only deal with really top-end, one-word premium names in the .com or .com.au space. We don't bother with anything else. As an example, we're brokering who.com at the moment. That's one of our top .com names.
That is a very nice one, yes.
That's a good name. That's a definite 7-figure name. People can go who.com and contact us if they want. I'm not trying to do an ad here, but
why not? Why not?
Yeah. But it is. And we've got names like it.com.au. So,
yes.
Which obviously we spoke about the other day. Because
yes, about Indus Telecom. Yes, about Andrew.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes he watches the live streams in his kitchen.
G'day.
That's him. Bad news, Andrew. Bad news. The domain is in the hands.
That's our client. Our client is the owner of it.com.au. So cybersecurity.com.au, snoring.com.au, list.com.au, EV sales, and lots and lots of others. And between my business partner and I, we own several thousand names ourselves.
Okay.
So
couple thousand, 3, 4, how many? So both of you.
Oh, look, I wouldn't want to guess. I'm not quite sure. I know my portfolio size, I think, is around 2,500 last time I checked.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a mix. The majority, probably 80%, is .com.au, but then I've got .coms and .nets and .cos and .ios and quite a few .co.uk's. I've got some good.in domains that I bought many, many years ago, but don't get me started talking about that. That's a bit of a mess at the moment. I got names locked up in weird things that happened with one of the registrars that got suspended and then got their IN license taken off them, and now my names are held up in somewhere else. And anyway, no big deal. It's just it's a bit of a pain in the backside, but what do you do? This is why we mainly stick with the area that we know best, which is .com.au and of course .com. But they're my two favourites.
So returning to the day. So you have your personal portfolio, 2,500 domain names, approximately, plus minus.
Roughly, yeah.
Yes. So 85% of them in covering the Australia region. And then you have a partnership at DBR.com. Is that
so
partnership at the brokerage, or
we technically not a partnership, but it's more we've just sort of joined forces. So I've come on board to help Rob with the brokerage side. I'm the senior broker. So and Rob gets involved doing deals with us. Sometimes we work together where Rob will do one portion of the deal and I'll do the other portion. Like I might be doing the client side and Rob will sometimes be doing the acquisition side. Sometimes if I feel he'll be a better fit for talking to someone, we sort of do a lot of swapping around of roles and working out who fits best to sort of deal with something.
Yes.
So, and we found that strategy works very good because we have complementing skill sets. And Rob's awesome. So we get that done. Like we just did a sale last year, a .com.au 3-letter for 500,000. And that took a bit of work. That was a few months of work to get it done. I can't say what it is because NDA,
Yes,
the usual thing.
Yeah.
And that was a good deal. And the client was very, very happy that they got that name for that price. They maybe were expecting to pay more for it.
Okay.
I think the owner was definitely trying to get more for it. But yeah, that was an interesting one. But probably the majority of sales we do are in the 40,000 price range. That would be the sweet spot for the common sale or acquisition.
So 40,000 Australian dollars or US.
Typically, yeah, Australian dollars. We always talk in Australian dollars, unless we're dealing with .coms and we're dealing with international buyers. If the majority of our clients are in Australia trying to buy Australian domain names, so we typically talk Australian dollars. Yeah.
So, and just to do a quick conversion, so 10,000 Australian dollars would be in US.
10,000 Australian dollars would be about 14,000 US dollars. Sorry, other way around. 10,000 US dollars. I'm going the wrong way.
Yes.
10,000 US dollars is probably around 6.5.
So when you are saying that, .au or .com.au sales are of decent names, of good names, are usually 40,000. So it would mean you would go 20 to 25,000 US.
Yeah, that would probably. That's not what they would. I wouldn't say that's what the domains.com.au typically go for. That's typically where our sweet spot is in terms of sort of our average sale price would be around there. There's a lot that go for hundreds of thousands. There's a lot of names that get sold that don't get reported, just like .com. So we hear about deals that happen all the time. So yeah, in terms of a lot of the names we deal with, they're probably sitting in that. But again, it's per domain. On the basis of per domain. So obviously it.com.au isn't going to be a $20,000 or $30,000 name. It's much more. So that's yeah. Are you saying why not? Why isn't it that price? Because the client isn't selling, and neither are we. So that's a very, very good name.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing, as you know, when you're dealing with owners of names that sit on these premium digital assets and they're not in a rush to sell them. It could take them 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. And then it can get passed on in their family estate if they, end up passing away and they haven't sold the name.
Yes.
It gets passed on. I think I'm a big fan of Rick Schwartz. I know Rick well. He's been on the podcast several times. We talk all the time. Rick is one of those guys. He just says it as it is. And some people love Rick and other people don't like Rick. But I like Rick because he just tells the truth. Well, his truth, the truth that he knows and his experience. So I am someone from the majority of stuff that I believe in terms of people are selling their names way too cheap. They're giving away these quality digital assets for a very, very low price. That being said, some people need to. If they
can we disclose that what you said to me?
What did I say?
If you were brokering or if you owned domainsummit.com, you wouldn't sell it for 17.5.
No, I wouldn't. But that being said, it would be.
But then again, if that is, I was so open, so bluntly open. I tried to go with as much respect as I have towards the mic man, and saying, hey, this is like.
And look,
50. I cannot lift up 50. I cannot lift up to 50. Then I would carry on Summit.London.
Yes, and I think you were fortunate that you were dealing with someone like Mike, and
Yes.
Mike's been on the podcast a few times. Mike's a legend and also a very good person to deal with in terms of domain names. And
that is exactly what I discovered. I had heard so many things about him, and there are so many rumors, and everything is opposite. One says one, another says, and you just don't understand. And once you start dealing with a man, he's so straightforward, polite, and efficient. Just don't want to waste his time. So I tried.
No, so I think he, and I can't speak for Mike. I don't know what he had in his head, but I think he did a very fair price for you. And I can only say what I would, if I had a name like that, I'd probably sell it for more, but I'm going to be waiting longer. And there's obviously a small market for a domain like Domain Summit. There's a very small market. So might take me another 10 years to sell it and get 25,000 or 30,000 for it. So it's a bird in the hand scenario.
Would you wait 5 years to sell it for 25 or 30 instead of taking 17.5 now?
Well, that depends on my financial situation, doesn't it? Because if I don't need the money,
I'm sure we would find a common language. I'm sure we would find a deal. We could sweeten up with this or that.
Probably not.
That's the beauty of domaining.
I'm a bit of a hard case when it comes to sticking to my prices. I don't have a huge degree of flexibility. It's sort of, if I've got an idea of a price that I want to sell a name for, and I'm talking purely my own names, not client names, because clients have different situations.
Yes.
But I will always follow my gut on what I think I should sell a name for. And of course, the difficult thing with domains is you don't really have any comparable sales. You can say a 3-letter domain sold for 500,000. Therefore, there's another 3-letter domain. Surely it must be worth 500,000. Well, no, because the letters can mean something completely different. It could be for an industry where there's a massive return or a massive dollar value product versus a small dollar. There's so many factors that have to be looked at when you're looking at the potential value and how many buyers there are and how much searching is done on it. And is it a new upcoming trend or is it something that is an old trend that's dying, So one of your podcasts that was watched recently, they were talking about selfie sticks.
Okay, selfiesticks.com.
Yeah. Now at selfiesticks.com. Great name at the peak of the time when everyone was going crazy on selfie sticks.
Yes, he's got singular, not plural.
Oh, selfie stick. Okay.
Yes.
So selfie stick, it had a moment in time. Whether that ever comes back, who knows? I don't know whether it will or not. I've no clue. But there was probably a peak time in the market to sell selfiestick.com that potentially has passed. If there's a revival, who knows? But you look at things like it.com.au, that's highly unlikely that will not be a relevant domain in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time.
And even if information technology changes to something else, different name, different technology comes up as superior, anyway, the 2 letters will stay. And those are premium letters.
Yeah. Snoring.com.au, another example. Okay. People are always going to snore unless they come up with some miracle medical thing that people can have that stops them snoring. I think in another 50 years' time, snoring will still be a problem and it may even be worse. So there are certain names. Yeah, well, there you go. So they're obviously what we would classify as evergreen domains because they are just as relevant 10 years ago as they are today, as they are in 10 years' time. So there's names like that are just high value premium names, whereas other things are trend based. And trends are good. Like if you look at, I've been buying up a lot of names over the last 3 or 4 years in the AI space, in the crypto space, in the blockchain space, etc., etc. Metaverse related stuff, got a few of those things too. So I always try and keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening and try and stay a few steps ahead and anticipate, well, I think this area could be popular, or this is something that's a coming trend. Whether it's a popular thing in 5 years' time, who knows? It all changes. Like metaverse could come back. It could be really popular. NFTs are having a bit of a resurgence. Of course, I had the exclusive interview with Ian, who brokered NFTs.com, which sold for 15 million. So he came on the podcast with me to discuss that. That's on our assets.com.au site. Interesting story. Is NFTs.com worth 15 million now? Was it worth 15 million when it was bought? Don't know. That's arguable.
If a company knows how to make back that money and even profit from it, absolutely. It depends on the business.
It does, and that's a good point you've picked up on there, Helmets, is that I never look at a domain without the view of it being either a commercial use or something that is a trend or in the zeitgeist of social popularity, something in that sort of space. So, but I would say 90% of the names I own are commercial related. I look at it and go, can a business take this name and build a multi-million-dollar business on this name? If the answer is no, I typically won't buy the name. There are a few that I speculate on. And of course, you can't always say that with things like 3-letter names, because you don't know. There could be a business that starts in 2 years' time that has a certain combination of letters that is perfectly matched to the domain you own, but you didn't know that when you bought the name. And that's how it ends up, So it's just, if you look at a lot of the names that people buy, I really don't know what they're thinking at the time of buying them. I think they're on smoking some sort of drug, because look at all the names that expire every day in the .com space and the .com.au space alone. I know in the .com.au space, in our tiny market, there's thousands of names every day that drop and expire. Thousands, because they're just useless names that people register that don't give any thought to what they're doing when they register them. They have a hyphen or 2 hyphens or 3 hyphens in them. Just the things. Just go and look through any of the expired domains.
Maybe they are Germans. Maybe they are Germans. You never know.
Different story. And yes, I know the Germans love their hyphens. I was at the first traffic conference, the first CCTLD traffic conference in Amsterdam in 2009, that was put on through Rick Schwartz, but Rick Latona, he was the person who ran that particular event in Amsterdam. And we had I can't remember the lady's name now, but she was one of the head people from what's the German extension? I've gone blank.
.de.
.de.
Yes.
Sorry, Germany. So .de. And she said the majority of 2-word names that are registered have a hyphen in them.
Yeah.
And that's their preferred way of doing it. So again, it comes down to understand your market. Like if you understand your market and you understand the names you're buying and who you're trying to target for those names, that makes life a lot easier. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of information out there to point you in the right direction.
So what is specific about Australian market? Do Australians understand that there are professional domain name investors and they understand them and they accept them, or do they see them parasites?
No. The majority of people have no clue. Like if I'm out at an event somewhere, or a networking event or a business event,
Yes.
and they ask what I do, and I say I'm a domain broker, they look at me like, you're a what? So domain name broker. The look on their face is always priceless, because I know no one else has ever said that to them in their life. More than likely, there's that few of us in terms of what we do. So I think your average person who is on the street, who is using the internet on a day-to-day basis, they understand that there's a domain name. They go to the domain names. In Australia, the .com.au is king by far. You just have to look on advertising and billboard space. It's no different to the United Kingdom. The .co.uk is the king in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And obviously then there's .com would be used as well. But in Australia, the majority of businesses that operate within Australia, they're on a .com.au. And everyone would love to have the .com equivalent of their name as well, but typically they're taken, or it's used by a bigger company. Some of our bigger international-based companies also have the .com, or may choose to operate off the .com, but that makes sense because they're running an international business.
Yes, of course.
So, but any company who's in Australia just targeting a local or Australian-wide based business, they run off the .com.au, or secondary, which is not great, .net.au, which is no different or dissimilar to owning a .net versus a .com.
Occasionally, I see quite a lot of two-letter dropping, .au something, .net.au, and different other versions of .au zone at expired domains. I follow two letters.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
and Australians come up quite often.
Yeah. Look, you're saying two letters, so like dn.net.au or dn.
dn.net.au. Yes.
Yeah, they don't drop that often, so I don't know where you're seeing them dropping that often, but because anything that expires, there's a company.
I can see now there is Z, so Zulu India .net.au, and it is available.
Yeah.
Here you go.
To register.
Yeah, of course. It was first seen on 2014, and it dropped this morning 5:12, and it is available.
Yeah, I think I actually saw that.
So Zulu India, then the next one X, and then U for uniform .net.au as well.
Yeah.
And occasionally I keep seeing them. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a reason.
Okay.
Because no one wants .net.au. That's why.
Of course, I'm not talking about .com.au now.
No, you're talking about .net.au.
Yes, about .net. Yes.
Yes, 100%, and that is the thing that sort of tells it. You would think, okay, it's two-letter, it's got to be valuable. It has some value. Those letters probably aren't a great combination of letters anyway, but well, we'll talk about it.com.au. So obviously the .com.au is the main one, but I wouldn't mind owning it.net.au. That would be a good name and would have value. What the value is, I don't know.
And then imagine owning both, or owning it.com.au, and then somebody starts building business on it.net.au. And you would send them Christmas cards, and you would wish them all the prosperity in the world. So the faster they grow, the faster they would be able to acquire the domain name.
I had this, I won't say it was an argument, but I had a conversation with someone on LinkedIn yesterday about this very thing, who was completely perplexed at the fact that the .com.au was the more valuable versus the .au that's just been released a year ago. So the direct registration .au, so no different to when the .uk was released in United Kingdom, 6 years ago now, whatever it was. And as we speak, well, I think last week, 15,000 .aus dropped they're just they don't have 35 years of marketing and advertising and billions of dollars put behind it like the .com.au does. If .au came out 35 years ago and that was our primary domain extension, I would have actually preferred that because it's shorter. It wins in the fact that it's shorter. So it.au, that would be great. And it doesn't mean you can't build something on it.au, but, and here's the big but, is that you are competing against the domain extension .com.au that has had all the marketing, all the focus on it for 35 years and is very, very hard to knock off. Equivalent like trying to knock off .com. People don't understand that. They try and argue against it, but I see it on a daily basis. I see it with my domains that I own, the emails that I get that are supposed to go to .au, and all the traffic that I'm getting from things that should be going somewhere else. Like it comes to the one that people defaultly know, the one that people see on all the other advertising. So if everything that people watch has a .com.au after it, or everything they read, or 80% plus has that as the domain extension, when they go to think of something like IT, by default they'll type in .com.au. Even me, when I actually intend typing in a .net.au, because I know that's the website that I'm trying to go to because it is a .net.au, I accidentally typed .com.au, and I'm really trying hard not to forget that it's a .net.au. So it's human nature. People can argue human nature.
Let us say you wanted to buy. You are just about to start a new, clean, great brand in Australia, and you need to buy the premium domain name.
Yep.
Even though you already have 2,500 domains, and let's say 2,000 of them are .com.aus.
Yeah.
And there is another broker or owner who owns .com.au, and your perfect keyword. Would you buy it without .au?
Yes.
Would you?
100%. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. I had the opportunity with all of my names to get the majority of them. You had to go through a process of applying to get your equivalent .au if you already owned the .com.au in Australia when they released it a year ago. If there were more than, like if there was someone else who owned a .net.au or a .org.au or another extension, I can't remember it now, .as for association.au. If anyone owned those, then depending on who had the names first, you had to go in a sort of pecking order to get it, and you had to apply. And by default, some people, if they had the name longer, would get the equivalent .au. They had the right to get it before someone else. I could have done that with a high percentage of my names and got the .au, but I chose not to because I just thought it was a waste of money. Because like you, if someone wants to come along and build out a huge website, and I'm having this happen with a couple of my names now, and I'm seeing this happen.
Yes.
They're spending advertising dollars. I'm seeing them put stuff on LinkedIn. I'm getting 25, 30, 40% of the traffic, and I'm getting emails that shouldn't be going to me, but people just automatically type in the .com.au for the email address. So these things people forget. When I had the chance, I looked at core domains.
As a domain investor, yes. As a domain investor, yes, you would. But for yourself, for the business, would you consider investing significant, large amount of money into not a couple? At least in the UK, we see that the clean deal is once a business buys both .co.uk and .uk. Then he's safe. For yourself.
Well, it's no different now with the .au as it would have been with the .net.au, because someone could have done the same thing and built something huge on a .net.au and you owned the .com.au. It's never concerned me because I know human habits. So I would have no problem building a big business, putting lots of money into it if all I owned was the .com.au, because at some point the .au, there may be some people that accidentally go to that rather than you, but the majority is going to be the other way around. I would never, ever build a huge business on a .au without owning the .com.au. I did a whole post on this on my LinkedIn page.
Though in the UK up here, we have these cases. We definitely do have these cases. Flip was built, flip.uk was built on just UK. And then it was acquired. Are there any marketplaces? Like in the UK, we have Domain Lore, then we have Flip, and then domainers are coming. Occasionally, they are saying, "Hey, I will create this marketplace." Another one, Sam Charles wants to launch his own sniper.co.uk. What about Australia?
When I say we're currently working on something that will be coming out. I won't say any more than that, but there's something in the works. There's something in the works.
Yes.
There isn't really a strong marketplace in terms of somewhere to list them, other than all the other places that you would be used to, like Afternic and Cedo, and we use all those as well for our .com.au names. GoDaddy Aftermarket, Dan.com.
So nothing local.
Not really. There's a few attempts at it, but there's nothing that is really sort of dominating any market share or is well known. Predominantly, it's still the overseas companies, like the ones I just mentioned, that are doing well. I have a lot of my names listed on my own FT platform, but other than that, the majority of names I sell are through Afternic or my own personal sales, Afternic, Dan, and before that it was Uniregistry till they got bought out and taken over by GoDaddy.
And nothing really like Domain Lore or like Flip, like we have in the UK.
No.
Like marketplaces where people can go browse through the easily see what is there, auctions expiring, and
not at the moment. There's private marketplaces in terms of the majority of names that are listed are owned by a particular domain investor, but there's no really well-known place like an Afternic. We don't have. Hey, I'm happy to be proven wrong on this. If someone's watching this and they go, "No, Ed, you're wrong," there is.
Yes.
Well, I'll be very surprised because I thought I would have known it, but there's not any to my knowledge.
And to those snappy ones who are hearing an opportunity bells now, ding 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 ding.
Well, it's still.
You can say that you are guys working on something. So be careful.
Yes.
Australians are on it.
Yeah. Look, Australia's a funny place because currently there's only one place you can pick up expired domains through, and that's drop.com.au.
Who owns it?
And there needs to be more. Sorry?
Who owns it?
That's David Wormeld's business, so above.com, etc. So he owns drop.com.au.
Fantastic name, yes.
And look, my personal opinion is it's a monopoly. We keep trying to get a new expired domain platform set up through auDA, which is the Australian Domain Administration, but nothing's been approved. It's pretty hard work to try and get something done because no one's got a choice other than going to drop.com.au to pick up expired names.
Do I get you correctly that there are no drop catchers, that all the dropped domain names go directly to drop.com? Really?
So yeah, I'm assuming
so many businesses have tried to achieve in the UK, and all the domainers are laughing. You will never ever try to achieve it, and they are bidding crazy monies to nominate. They are trying to get this business.
Well,
sorry,
yes.
That's so curious.
And here's the thing, back earlier, sort of 10, 15 years ago, when you were bidding on expired names, you could put in a blind bid and you would get whoever put in the highest bid only had to pay $1 more than the next highest bidder.
Yes.
Okay. So that was how it worked. It was a blind auction. So if I wanted to put in my maximum bid is $5,000, if the next highest bidder's maximum bid was $500, then all I would have to pay is $501. Okay. I wouldn't have to pay $5,000. Now with drop, how it's set up is it goes in increments. It goes, and this is maybe not exactly this, so don't quote me on it, but it starts off at $25, then goes to 50, then 100, then 250,
Wow.
then 500, then 1,000, then 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000,
No place for time wasters.
No. So there's none of the incremental stuff. You've got to go up in these ridiculous big chunks. We've got one on there today as we speak. Yes. I'll just check it at the time of this recording. So what are we, the 15th of November, 2023.
Yes. There's
a well-known company in Australia that also operates internationally. They're a mattress company. So sleep mattress company.
Yes.
Called Koala.
Oh,
so everyone knows.
That's a beautiful name. Oh my God.
Everyone knows Koala, right? So koala.com is what they operate off internationally. Okay. About 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even less than that actually, they purchased koala.com.au.
Yes.
For about 50,000 some odd dollars, Australian dollars.
Oh, great purchase. Yes.
It's expiring tomorrow. So now I highly doubt, and I would hope these business people are not that silly to let a name that they paid $50,000 for expire because they didn't think they wanted it anymore for the $10 renewal fee. I pray that is not the case, that there's someone not that silly to think that all they needed was the .com and not have the .com.au.
Things happen.
So I think it's accidental.
Yes.
It's already at 20,000 on drop. So we've got another 13 hours and 28 minutes to go before this name actually goes into the final dropping stage. And it's already at 20,000. Now, my guess is that it's the koala.com people trying to buy it back. So they've made the mistake of letting it expire. Again, this is just my summation here. I'm not saying that that's a fact. I don't know at this moment in time.
But isn't there a grace period or something? Okay.
There is that, but that's the grace period's already passed.
Okay.
So they've already had their chance.
Now it is in limbo. Yes, now it is in limbo.
Yeah, now it's it's too late. It's going through the process. I don't know who was responsible for the name, but looking on the Whois, it was one of the co-founders whose details are on the Whois and their email address. So I don't know the story.
And it would make sense that they are now bidding for it themselves.
It would, but it wouldn't surprise me that it's someone else too.
Otherwise,
all will be revealed tomorrow
morning. The name is so generic, especially in Australia, and try to protect your trademark over the word koala, over the friendliest animal in Australia. Come on.
Did you say the bird?
No, animal. No.
Oh, I thought you said bird. Yes, koala is, and one of, I don't know whether you've ever heard, we have a bit of a joke in Australia, and we tease tourists when they're here, when they're going through out in the outback and in the bush, that we have these very dangerous animals that are sort of like a crossbreed of a koala bear, and they're called drop bears. Have you ever heard of drop bears?
No.
And they've got great big fangs and claws, and they drop from the trees and attack tourists. Now, this is all made up.
Yes.
And it's a bit of a joke we play and scare people because everyone knows how many dangerous animals are in Australia. So we add another one to the list. So I'm saying, well, isn't that funny? The koala is dropping, so it must be a drop bear. Anyway, it's a bit of an Australian joke, but all will be revealed tomorrow, Helmets, about what this price goes for, what the domain price goes for. Interesting. Anyway, that's an example. But in my opinion, if you're building a business in Australia, you build it on the .com.au. Great if you also have the .au as some protection for the brand. Doesn't hurt if you've got it. It doesn't really worry me whether I've got it or not. I've probably 50 names I've got that I own. I've got the .au for the rest. I didn't bother. It doesn't bother me.
Quick question about liquid names. Then probably LLLs. LLs are not really liquid. You need some time, but LLLs, how liquid are 3-letter .com.aus in Australia?
They sell quite regularly, but they've got to be good combinations. Ones that actually spell a word or is a word have more value and typically will move quicker, or a popular combination of letters, particularly if there's a lot of companies. Like if you could say, if you do a search on whatever the combination of letters are, and there's 60 companies that have that in their name, or it makes up the acronym of their name, then that's a typically a good name to own, or because you've got a big market. If it doesn't mean a lot in terms of there's not a lot of businesses that have that combination of letters, then it's going to be a harder name to sell because there's not a lot of use cases. And they're typically ones no different to a .com that has a V and a Z and a Y in it, or a lot of combination of letters that don't get used. So it's a tricky one, but they are pretty fluid in Australia as well.
So which letters are less used? Did you say Zs?
Well, often those types of letters you'll find not as popular. Letters that are
how are X's? How are X's these days after Twitter and X?
Well, I think there's a bit of a trend with having an X at the start or the end of a word, and a lot of that's got to do with Elon with his. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does make sense. Absolutely.
Well, I suppose it does, yeah. But often X is used as like an exchange, so people have an X on the end. It's very popular in crypto.
I remember, sorry for interrupting, I remember when auDA, the largest 2-letter .com owner from China.
Yes.
When he tweeted immediately, like almost immediately after Twitter is rebranded to X. And he said, such a smart choice, finally. As people cannot spell out Twitter in China. They cannot remember it. They do not understand it. And X makes 100% sense. And if you
absolutely,
and if you forget that English language is not the dominating one in the world, if you want to go global, if you want to implement payments and everything, then X.com is definitely the right choice. So after I read that tweet, I just changed my mind totally about it. Very smart choice.
Yeah, but how it plays in terms of just adding it onto a word, that's a different scenario altogether. For the brand of that Elon Musk is building, that's a different story. But just going and having a word with X on the end, it needs, what does the X mean?
Okay. Yes.
Are you trying to use it?
Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason to have X on the end. And so often that's what I'm saying with crypto. There's often, because it's X for exchange or things like that. I don't know. Sometimes people buy domains for all sorts of strange reasons and think they're marvelous for different reasons. And usually they turn out to be incorrect. But it's, but yeah, I'd happily look, if Elon wants to give me X.com, I'll happily take it off his hands.
Together with the whole platform and stadium.
No, I don't want the platform. I'm just happy with the domain. I don't want all the hassle with the platform. Just give me the domain. I'll sell it to someone else for a couple of billion. So
Australia would need to increase their national debt to be able to take over that name.
Yeah, probably.
We are only 1 hour in, and I've got so many questions. God,
keep going. We've got a bit more time.
Yes, audiobooks. I did see that you own audiobooks.com.au, and then it redirects to even better, my audiobooks.co.uk.
It actually redirects to audiobooks.com.
Oh, Really?
Yeah. Here's the story. Here's the story behind.
Please go on. And I'm such a huge fan of audiobooks. And
well, here's the thing. I may be incorrect because you're in the United Kingdom.
yes,
It maybe does redirect to the .co.uk.
yes, it does redirect to .co.uk. Yes.
Yeah, but if you're in Australia, it's redirecting to the .com.
Okay. Of course.
I own audiobooks.com.au and audiobook.com.au, and we're technically one of the larger audiobook sellers in Australia because of those names. I've had audiobooks.com.au for about 14 years or 13 years or something, and we partnered with audiobooks.com.
Okay.
So yeah. So that is what we would classify as money for jam. I think I paid $3,500 or $4,000 for that name 13 years ago, and
For
yeah,
.com.au.
for the .com.au. I also own the .au and the .net.au. So I have all of those ones, and that is just a automatic cash register that just keeps. I don't do anything. There's no.
Oh, come on. And the business is good as well. And audiobooks are so good. And
this is a whole subject here, Helmets. This is another podcast, and I've done a similar podcast before about this subject, pairing up premium dictionary or sort of business related terms with an affiliate link or affiliate program. I have hundreds of them that do the same thing. So people just assume, okay, if you type in freevpn.com.au, what do you see?
freevpn.com.au. Okay.
Yeah.
FreeVPN. So where does it go? To NordVPN, of course. Yes.
Right. Now that could go to anyone.
Yes.
And technically Nord don't actually have a free VPN, but it gets people there looking.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Salesfunnels.com.au. See where salesfunnels.com.au goes to. It goes to, have a guess. One of the most popular ones, ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels, yes.
Yeah. Now there's a lot more than ClickFunnels around nowadays for sales funnels, and some people hate ClickFunnels, but I've been sending traffic to ClickFunnels for 7 years, and it's made me a lot of money. And I've got a lot of other names similar to that, like funnelbuilder.com.au and things like that just get generic type in traffic. It goes through, it makes a sale. I'm getting recurring income for 30, 40, 50%. And I pay $10 a year to renew the domain. A lot of these I hand registered or pick them up on the drops for $50 or $100.
So about the audiobooks.com.au, do you have a deal with audiobooks.com or some special?
I won't go into the details, but yes.
And smile, it should be a nice deal. And congratulations to both of you. Seriously, congratulations to both of you. And they are safe as well. They are happy that in Australia that brand, that domain name is secure. It goes to their brand, and there is no danger towards their business.
No, there's not. But we don't have anything official in writing. There's no official deal because it was taken over. Storytel took over the brand audiobooks.com.
Yes.
So I've had a thing happening originally with audiobooks.com before Storytel took it out. Now, officially, Storytel don't operate in Australia, but they're European based. They have a majority of their business in Europe. And you've probably heard of Storytel. I don't know whether you have or not.
No, I haven't heard of it. No.
So we haven't had any official deals put in place to keep me from doing that. I could switch over to to Audible. So I can't even stop saying audiobooks. I could switch over to audible.com with a deal with them at any time. I'm not locked into anything, but I'm happy with what I'm doing now. But I think in the
matching brand, it just seems so natural.
It is natural, and this is why it makes sales on a very regular basis, because people just go audiobooks.com.au
And you
there
have
they are.
put it up even on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But
in the case of Audible, I would understand immediately. Okay, that's a referral link. But audiobooks.com.au, going to audiobooks.co.uk, that's perfect. It just seems that
and that's interesting that it goes. I haven't thought of that before, that it goes to, it's unlikely anyone in the UK is going to type in audiobooks.com.au, correct? They're going to type in,
or maybe checking your profile.
Well, they could do that if they saw it on my LinkedIn profile and type that in.
Yes.
Then they'll end up as you've done with that.
And then I typed it in, and then I saw, they have an offer. Sign up and get three free audiobooks. And I'm a huge Audible fan. Yeah. I listen only to. I have Audible. I've had Audible account for God knows when, and now I'm thinking, shall I take the bite or not?
You do what you want to do, and sometimes some platforms have specific deals that you can't get in others. It's a personal preference. Yes. I don't push anyone to do anything. Like, basically, it's as organic as it could possibly be.
Yes.
People go to it, they buy. Sometimes I'll do a post on LinkedIn if there's a special. Like I did a post a couple of weeks ago about Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book, and because I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and said, look, his new book's one of the top sellers on audio.com.au, and I put a link there to go. So it's not complicated.
Okay, then I'll definitely check it out. If it is not on audible.co.uk, then
it will be.
Now, you would be surprised.
Oh, okay.
In Audible's case, this actually might work in your favor. And those domainers who are watching us from the UK, please go through Audible, through audiobooks.com.au. Yes.
Thank you.
And as many books that are on audible.com are not available on .co.uk.
Okay, interesting.
Due to some legal issues.
Fair enough.
God knows.
It can be different in each country, but I think the affiliate side of things, I see a lot of domainers who have domains that go through to park pages, and they make hardly any money. Seriously, start looking at there's so many different affiliate programs that can align with domains that people own. That they can make far more money. And if someone wants to buy a domain off you, okay, you don't have it advertised necessarily or listed, so it goes through to Afternic or so. Don't make it hard for them. Have your whois details so you're not privacy protected. I mean, why would you privacy protect your whois details if you really want to try and sell a domain name? I see a lot of people doing that. It doesn't make any sense. Have as many details on your whois as you can, so that people can find you if you want to sell the name. If you don't want to sell the name and you don't want people annoying you, then privacy protect it 100%. But if your intention is at some point to sell one of your domains, why would you put barriers in the way of people getting in contact with you? And yes, you're going to have to deal with the annoying tire kicker people who just, want to lowball you and send you an offer for $50 for a name that's worth $50,000. That's part of being a domain investor. You've got to deal with that. Just ignore them, or you never know. You might get them to go from $50 to $50,000 if you're a good negotiator. Who knows?
Awesome. And be useful. The Arnold's book is available on Audible. And
there you go. So you've got a choice. You can go to either.
For his podcast with Arnold. It changed my view on Arnold.
Which podcast?
Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss.
Oh, Tim Ferriss. Yeah.
I think he was the first one who got Arnold on the podcast, or maybe not. But his podcast
early on, for sure,
brilliant. It was fantastic. They did it in person.
Yeah,
and it just.
There's a lot. Arnold now, because he's got this book that's coming out, he's been doing the rounds of podcasts. Like, I've seen him on about 20 different podcasts. So he's been kept very busy in terms of doing the podcasts, doing the book promotion. So good on him. I love I love Arnie. So anything else you want to ask me, Helmets? I've probably got about 5 minutes up my sleeve.
So for the moment, that would be it. What is your largest sale?
Ones we can't say, but in terms of 500,000 for the .com.au space, yeah. We're working on some others at the moment that'll be a lot bigger than that. But in terms of, a 3-letter .com.au, because that's our main market. We don't really do a huge amount in .com.
Yes.
That's not our wheelhouse per se.
And there are also many domainers who offer who are looking to co-broker the names for other brokers.
Absolutely. We do.
As we have many domainers, and a shout out to Michael from Ireland as well. He is very active and he's looking for offers like that. So, what would you say to domainers who would want to try to help you to sell some names?
Have a talk to us first, and we'll see. We can certainly have a conversation about what we can do, and I think if we've got something in place first, then absolutely. If someone has a genuine lead that they think is a buyer for a name, particularly something like who.com, come and see us. But don't come and see us unless it's a 7-figure offer, because it won't happen. It's just not. It's that sort of name is going to be in the mid 7 figures for sure.
Absolutely. And at the same time, there is another name. A German guy is brokering is yes.com, exclusive.
Yeah, great name. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of really great names coming out at the moment, and
which ones are so? Australia is. You guys always keep so low profile, and still, what are the biggest brands that the domain name industry should know that comes from Australia? So above.com, definitely. Then Michael Gilmore with Park Logic.
Yeah, Park Logic. That's
1000%.
Park Logic. Michael's been on the podcast a few times. Michael is a great guy. He knows more. He's like a real data-driven.
Yes.
Nuts and bolts. Like, he knows stuff that most domain investors will never know, and he has so much information passing through his systems that he sees a lot of information that we'll never see. So Park Logic is good, but I wouldn't say it's there's nothing in the business of domain investing that's what you would call a household name. There isn't anything like that. Your average person on the street doesn't know any of these places, and probably if you said where would you go and register a name, they're more than likely going to say GoDaddy or Crazy Domains, or probably Melbourne IT, which has been around for like 30 years selling domains. Wow. They're probably the ones that your average person who has any idea about where to register a domain would say. But I can guarantee you probably most people, if I was to walk up and down the central business district in Perth and with a microphone and say, where would you go to register a domain name? I guarantee majority of people don't know. They'd have to go and Google where to register a domain name. Because I get people asking me all the time, where do I go to register a domain name? And they ask me because they want me to give them a good place to go. And they can obviously just Google it, and then there's going to be 1,000 things that pop up. But most people don't know where to do it. And that's what domain investors have to remember is we know a lot of things, and we have very specific information that your average person or even business owner doesn't know. In making assumptions that these business owners know this, it's not very good. And I sit down and have these conversations. I've had tens of thousands of conversations in 20 years of running a marketing agency and talking about domain names. And the majority of businesses don't think about the domain name until it's either too late or it's at a process. Well, like we deal with some of the top 100 companies in Australia. some of the top 10 businesses in Australia are our clients. And even some of those companies, they'll sit around the boardroom, they'll come up with a business idea, they'll put marketing material out. This has literally happened. I'm not going to mention names, obviously, but they print everything out, they put the domain name on, and then someone goes, oh, we should really go and get that domain name. And then, oh, surprise, surprise, it's actually already in use. Someone's already owns it. It astounds me the lack of thought that goes into having a domain name as the core foundation of everything they're going to do online, and yet it's an afterthought in terms of their business plan and strategy. It really does my head in at that these people who are getting paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars don't have a clue about anything to do with domain names, yet everything is underpinned by the domain name. Everything. Koala.com.au is a great example of someone they've dropped the ball on that one. In my understanding, I may be wrong, but what would be worse is if the owners of koala.com.au just decided they didn't want it anymore and they just let it expire. That would be insane. That would be insane.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy.
Here we go.
Yeah.
The domaining world. Do you mind if at some point I invited you to other fireside domain chats with other domain?
Anytime, mate.
Yes.
Anytime we can talk about specific. So we could do a whole podcast on affiliate marketing and domain names, because I have this conversation to people, and who was it that another well-known domain investor in the US listened to the particular podcast that I did and talked about affiliate stuff, and he hadn't thought of it. And he went ahead and did what I suggested he did, and it's making tens of thousands of dollars from it. He thanked me a few months ago. I won't say his name, but it's anyone who's in the domain investing space would probably know his name, but he hadn't thought of really doing that. And he applied it to a lot of his names and making dollars from it, more than from PPC. So if all you get from this podcast is you look at your domains and think of some affiliate programs to match them to, I think you've done well, other than all of the other great things that Helmets is putting here. So, and well done on getting domainsummit.com, mate.
Thank you, Ed. And then we will see. Do we have a corporation somewhere in Australia, or somebody else can buy domainsummit.com.au from Ed?
Well, this is what we'll be talking about.
If you are, it all depends from the time. We don't have all the time in the world. We don't have.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
And thank you for the last conversation.
You're welcome.
It moved some thoughts in a totally different direction. Thank you. You know how it is. You would have a chat with somebody, and the chat opens the doors, and you start thinking and reconsidering everything that you are doing.
Okay, hopefully that's a good reconsideration, and I haven't given you a steerage in another direction that's going to go bad. So hopefully it's positive.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. And then see you next time. And
no worries.
And the last thing to promote for yourself?
Anyone who is looking at acquiring a domain name in Australia, or they're overseas and they need to acquire a .com.au because they're an overseas business expanding into Australia, go to dbr.com.au, as it says on the top here. It's in the link, dbr.com.au, and myself and Rob can help you hopefully get that name. And
I will definitely connect you with Ryan Ewan.
Thank you.
Who is actually working on creating a series of sites all around the world, like .uk marketplaces.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And he's
absolutely.
Australia is definitely on his map, and he's a serious player. He's not like So that would benefit both of you. I'm
fantastic. Greatly appreciated. Thanks, Helmets.
Fantastic.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time round. See ya.
Are you running a domain business? Did you know that we offer premium memberships at acorndomains.co.uk and dnforum.com? One membership for both forums. dnforum.com is the oldest active domain name forum in the world, with over 536,000 members and established in 2001. acorndomains.co.uk is the main online community for the UK domain investors, with over 15,500 members and established in 2004. We offer different premium memberships to help you to reach your business goals, starting from an individual membership, which includes numerous perks, to a platinum membership. For more details, please visit either of the forums or simply leave a comment on this video and we will contact you. Thank you for considering our premium membership. We look towards helping you to reach your